In today's video, we'll be talking about Jan Blachowicz wanting to fight Vladimir Putin. Why Charles Oliveira didn't win the title yet is still on his way to rank as the #1 fighter in the UFC. Marlon Vera doubling his check. Dana White admitting he endorsed Trump's presidency due to past favors he had done for the UFC. And Glover Teixeira, the UFC light heavyweight champion, saying this is probably his last year fighting. So stay tuned. Jan Blachowicz returned to the octagon and faced Alexander Rakic. The 39-year-old dominated that fight. During his interview, Blachowicz was asked who he would like to fight if he were given the opportunity to fight any person that has ever lived. The response of the former UFC light heavyweight champion was shocking. He mentioned Vladimir Putin. The former champion added that he would like to show Putin what the whole world desperately wants to show him. In addition, Blachowicz was also asked how closely he was following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Blachowicz expressed his displeasure at the Russian-Ukraine war. He added that his people in Poland were helping a lot of people that were escaping into Poland. For instance, his cousin had taken in a refugee. Everyone was shocked in the first week, but as time goes by, it becomes the norm. I always keep in contact with many friends there. It seems that Ukrainians are doing a great job. No one expected them to defend their lines this much. But in the end, let's hope this madness stops. It is their fight in the end, and I have mine. Yet I would want to invite refugees once I got a bigger home. As is the custom of the UFC, some fighters went home with extra cash after UFC in ESPN 35. Francisco Figueiredo and Joanderson Brito received extra $50,000 for their performances in Las Vegas, while Marlon Vera received a whopping $100,000 check. Marlon Vera defeated Rob Font via a unanimous decision at the UFC in ESPN 35. Although Font was able to land lots of strikes, the strikes delivered by Vera were way more devastating. Font landed more than 200 strikes, and this was a third straight fight at more than 100. At just 25 minutes into the fight, Font's face had become a mess. While on the other hand, Vera's face was still looking clean. The bout ended in Vera's favor. However, Font did not make weight, and this made Vera to get 20% of Font's purse. That was not all, as he got 100% of his share of the fight of the night bonus for $100,000 instead of the customary $50,000. Now, before we head to the next chapter, do you consider yourself a real UFC fan? If so then, let's start the trivia UFC quiz of the day. Which UFC fighter was involved in a hit-and-run incident with a pregnant lady? Is it A, John Jones, B, Cain Velasquez, or C, BJ Penn? The answer will be revealed at the end of the video, so stay tuned and subscribe to the channel for more content. Now, let's head back into it. In the past, many of the UFC fans might have been left wondering the reason why Dana White endorsed Donald Trump. In a recent interview with the Pivot podcast, the UFC president claimed that it was because of the business relationship that they had once shared. During the presidential campaigns that held in 2016 and 2020, White was solidly behind Trump because of how the former president had stood by them in challenging times. This long-standing relationship started after the UFC hosted UFC 31 and 32 at the Trump Taj Mahal. While speaking to the Pivot podcast, at that time, getting a venue was very difficult as most venues didn't want us. Trump came to the rescue by calling the UFC and offering that they could make use of the Trump Taj Mahal. Trump was present during the two fights and stayed back till the last fight of each event. As at this time, places such as Mississippi and Louisiana saw the UFC as illegal and only gave them access to small venues. The Senator John McCain from Arizona made a statement about MMA in 1996, and this statement caused a lot of harm to the company. McCain referred to MMA as human cockfighting. Mixed martial arts suffered a major blow as a result of this statement. MMA was banned in 36 states and were prohibited from pay-per-views, which was one of the main ways the cockoi made its money. After the business relationship with Trump ended, White still remained loyal to Trump. So when Trump called him and asked if he could speak at the Republican convention for him, White went against the negative advice he got from people to speak at both the 2016 and 2020 Republican National Convention, as well as at several rallies along the campaign trail. Everyone told me not to do it. Everything this guy's done for me, I'm going to tell him no, that's not me. This is one peculiar time in the history of UFC, where a fighter is not the champion but is still the best fighter. Oliveira was the lightweight champion until he missed weight by 0.5 pounds ahead of the UFC 274. As a result of this, Oliveira lost his UFC lightweight title. The former champ set a new UFC record of being the first champion to lose a belt by missing the weight limit. Oliveira was then given an option by the UFC. If Oliveira wins, he'll be the #1 contender for the vacant lightweight championship and will fight the next challenger for the undisputed title belt at a time and place to be determined. In addition, he also had to give up part of his fight purse to Gaethje. With the Gaethje-Oliveira fight, it was possible for Gaethje to become the champion by defeating Oliveira, but Oliveira would not be fit to take back the title even if he won. The bout ended with Oliveira winning via a rear naked choke submission at 3:22 of round 1. Now, what is next for Oliveira? After the UFC 274, the former champion called just one name, and that was Conor McGregor. Oliveira told Rogan with the help of a translator that, "I'm ready to fight anybody." He added that, "I'm not going to choose. But hey, Conor McGregor, are you coming or are you going to run away?" Islam Makhachev is still clamoring for a fight with Oliveira, but he might not get it, as Oliveira has stated that Makhachev doesn't deserve a shot. Glover Teixeira will be hanging up his gloves soon. The UFC light heavyweight champion said this on Wednesday during the Globo's Mundo de Luta podcast. Teixeira, 42, is scheduled to meet with Jiri Prochazka for a title defense at the UFC 275 on June 11th, taking place in Singapore. Teixeira, who will be 43 in November, plans to successfully defend his title twice before retiring. One of the fights will be against Prochazka, while the other will be in November at the annual UFC pay-per-view that would take place at New York's Madison Square Garden. Teixeira became a champion last October when he submitted Jan Blachowicz in the second round at the UFC 267. Teixeira has a record of being the UFC light heavyweight with the most finishes of 13 and the second most wins of 16 in the history of the division. We're glad to see that you made it this far, and the UFC fighter that crashed into a pregnant lady goes to Jon Bones Jones. In 2015, Jon Jones was involved in a hit and run with a pregnant woman that led to her having a broken arm. The UFC champion went on trial and received lenient punishment. The judge, Charles Brown, ruled that Jon Jones would receive 18 months of supervised probation and will be required to make 72 youth outreach and charity appearances. He also avoided fines and fees. Prior to this incident, Jones was a light heavyweight champ, but was later banned indefinitely from the sport and had his belt revoked by the UFC over the incident. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also turn on your notifications. We'll be reading out our top comments in the near future. And make sure to watch our other videos to find out all the latest news in MMA.